Disciplinary matter, Casella Waste, Atlantic Waste, Steve Culleton, representative, holder of a Cambridge disposal license, due to a report received by the License Commission from Inspectional Services regarding Casella Waste's alleged violation of Cambridge City Ordinance 8.25.080, which states in part, all dumpsters shall be in new or good condition, free of damage caused by wear or misuse that would allow leaks or access by rodents. Casella?
Is anyone here for Casella or Atlantic Waste? Okay.
My name is Charles McIsaac.
Charles, sorry.
MCISAAC. That's a capital I.
Could you state your occupation and what you're here?
I'm a housing inspector for the inspectional services for the city of Cambridge. Since early June, there's been a terrible rodent situation in an alleyway that contains 4 dumpsters located on Mass Ave between Dudley and Alberta Terrace. One of these dumpsters I noticed during an inspection in the middle of July, between the 13th and 17th of July. I found that there was a large hole in the bottom of the dumpster and there was a lot of seepage dropping to the ground. The hole was present because rats had chewed a hole through the bottom of the dumpster, making it larger and larger. I notified the licensee of the dumpster, which was Hana Sushi Restaurant, that they needed to change it out, which is our typical procedure, is to have the licensee contact the hauler to have their dumpster changed out. And by changed out, I mean to get one dumpster in that's compliant. They did call it in. I called Casella the following day. They confirmed that they did get a call in by Hana Sushi and that they were on the list to get the dumpster changed out. 10 days later, I called Casella again because the dumpsters remained. The rodent problem hadn't gotten any better, even though a lot of people were baiting and exterminating. And I was put on hold and then disconnected. Called them back a couple of days later. Told they'd call me back with an answer. Got no call back. My supervisor, Martha Flynn, called them on in early August, and she got a call back from them stating that they didn't have a dumpster that they could swap out. I emailed the corporate office in Vermont. I got the same response, that they didn't have a dumpster to swap out. So anyway, by the time the dumpster finally got swapped out, 5 weeks had passed. And we ticket and we send citations to the licensees when it is their fault they leave a dumpster open or overflowing. But we don't have a ticketing power or anything for the haulers. And personally, I think 5 weeks waiting for a dumpster to be swapped out, especially when there's a terrible rodent situation, was far too long.
So, did you ticket these licensees?
Yes, Hana Sushi got a ticket initially. They got a ticket because of leaving the dumpsters open at that time, not because of the faulty dumpster.
Did they contest the ticket or did they pay it?
No,
Was there a fine?
There is a fine. Whether they paid it or not, I couldn't tell you. It goes to the city clerk.
But was there a fine imposed on the ticket as far as you know?
Yes.
So you said the dumpster was changed out at some point.
Eventually, it took 5 weeks after the first phone call.
Did that resolve the rodent problem as far as you know?
It's only resolved the leakage of and the food source that leakage provided. That's all. The rodent problem still exist. To a different degree, I think it's a lesson.
Is it your opinion that the continuing rodent problem is caused by the dumpsters, or do you know what is causing it?
I think that the dumpsters contribute greatly to this, in this particular area. The dumpsters definitely contribute the majority of the reason why the rats exist in that area.
So is there still a problem with the dumpsters of some kind?
There is, and the lids of the dumpsters, more or less. And you know, the situation where the dumpsters are, the area where the dumpsters are situated is not conducive to keeping rats off of the dumpsters. They have a way of climbing up onto the dumpsters, which we're in the talking stage with the management company that owns the alley to change that.
So what are you asking of this commission?
You know, Casella is a large company. I'm assuming they're a large company. I see their dumpsters all over the place. And I don't know if it's up to the commission for a slap on the wrist to tell them, look, this is what could happen. If you don't abide by the city dumpster ordinance, which is what they were called for, to comply with an ordinance that they were given when the ordinance was in place. All the haulers were given a copy of the ordinance. You know, we would just like, whether it's a threat of losing their license to operate in Cambridge, if that's what the commission can do, I would like, I guess we need a little help with some little push to get Casella and the large haulers to abide by the ordinance.
Okay. Other questions?
You mentioned that you've seen the dumpsters around the city, I'm assuming, so that, have you had an opportunity to check the other dumpsters to see if they're in similar condition? I mean, what's troubling about your testimony is this is a relatively large company. You call them, and they're telling you they don't have a dumpster to swap out with a damaged dumpster. So I'm just trying to figure out, if this is a large firm, I'm trying to figure what the issue is, and if in fact there's other conditions that are similar, if they're going to pay such little attention to this one particular incident.
There are a number of their dumpsters around, and other companies' dumpsters that it's hard to find out if the dumpsters have the hole in the bottom,
Right.
like we found here. But there's a lot of damaged ones out there, which
With this
again is
particular
in
company?
violation. Yes.
Have they been cited for the damage?
There's other citations for them. They've been cited in the past a number of times.
Okay.
And there's some active, I know I have another active citation out to them.
With this particular company?
Yes.
So how did you cite them under the dumpster ordinance? Because you were saying that reaches licensees as opposed to haulers.
The citation I have out for a Casella dumpster presently is to the licensee to get a dumpster in good condition. There was no fine involved in that.
Okay.
And that's usually the typical manner, is just to send a citation, have your hauler change out the dumpsters. And we'd state why, you know, that your faulty lids, you got a hole in the bottom, whatever the reason may be.
Questions?
How frequently does Casella service the dumpster?
This particular dumpster is once a week.
So, and this particular dumpster is only for the Hana Sushi facility, the
Correct.
company? And you've attempted to contact Casella and they didn't even take your call, basically, right?
It got to the receptionist, and the receptionist confirmed that the order was placed by the restaurant to change out the dumpster, and when I try to narrow it down a time frame, we'll call you back, and then the call never comes.
So they're based, what'd you say, their corporate is what, Vermont?
Yes, that's where I sent the.
Do we know, do they have a yard or a facility in this area?
There is one in the Boston area.
Do you know where?
I think it's, I'm not sure.
We could certainly find out.
Yeah, I would think that perhaps start with some correspondence from the commission telling them.
The address that we have for the contact through licensing is in Peabody.
I would like to ask if there are any members of the public who would like to speak on this issue. Please come up. Hello.
Congratulations on your temporary appointment.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, for being here. My name is Craig Kelly. I'm a city councilor and live about 5 blocks from this site. I have a whole host of questions that are related to this, and if they drift too far, please stop me. And if it turns out that they don't drift too far, but this isn't the place to have the discussion, feel free to stop me at all. But I think there's a lot of confusion about what the License Commission can do regarding dumpsters, or the difference between a citation and a fine, and how much authority we have to get anyone to do anything from the dumpster management perspective at the company level.
Maybe I
And-
could address that briefly. Sorry to
Oh,
interrupt.
please, interrupt away.
But the License Commission does issue disposal permits to the hauler. So the License Commission does have direct authority over the haulers on disposal permits. And there's a section, that's by ordinance. So there's also the dumpster ordinance, which is a different ordinance where the licensees and the owners have responsibility.
Right, thank you. I understand that IS can fine people who aren't putting the trash in the dumpster properly or not closing this for. It's not clear what power we have. I know we license the dumpster company, but if the answer is to unlicense them, that is different from your being able to fine them, or I don't know exactly where that works. I don't know if we have the ability to tell people that they need to be emptied more often. I don't know if we have the ability to go in and empty dumpsters ourselves if someone is not emptying them. So we've had, just down the alley from that dumpster, there was a dumpster that was full for months, and I believe Charlie's got it finally emptied, but it's taken forever. And it's really made the discussion about how to manage rats in the neighborhood much more difficult, because people see this broken dumpster, they see the full dumpster, they see all this stuff that the city's having trouble addressing. And I'm trying to figure out what powers, what direct powers, whether it be entering a property and removing the dumpster or the trash in the dumpster, or fines of the hauling company, of what magnitude, or taking someone to court for not following a citation, or simply finding the people that are putting trash in the dumpster. I'm trying to figure out what power we have over the people that are behind this problem, so we can work better with the neighbors to figure out some sort of coordinated, collaborative, anti-rat management program. So I don't know if you have any answers for any of that, or if it's something that we can take up at a different time. But these are issues that I think are confusing to everyone involved in the discussion, but there must be answers for them somewhere.
Yeah, I don't know if any of the other commissioners have a comment, but I would just say I think some of what you're saying goes beyond the purview of the License Commission. There may be health-related issues that a different entity may have some authority over. But we're here tonight on a disciplinary matter.
So what is the limit of your disciplinary ability on any particular disciplinary matter, other than revoking the hauling license?
Well, we do have authority to revoke the license under the ordinance. As to the dumpster license itself, we would have authority to, under the other ordinance, Chapter 8, to penalize the owner or the licensee of the property. So we have some specific authority over them. We have a little more generalized authority over the hauler itself.
So for the hauler, the limit of your authority is to grant or not grant, or revoke or not revoke a license. There's no finding ability, there's no contempt of citation ability,
Well, we have
I'm trying to find out
different.
what kind of teeth we have here.
Yeah. I think we have different options available. One would be, and I think the commission will discuss this, whether we want to issue a warning letter of some kind. And we could possibly do that here, and the warning could say, if there are further violations, we will have you come in for a revocation hearing. Generally, the power to revoke a license implies certain lesser powers also over the license. So I'm not able to give you a dissertation on this at the moment, but
But I'm not hearing fines. You can't sock me with a $500 a day fine for a faulty dumpster.
there are fines that can be issued to the licensee.
Right.
The ordinance related to disposal permits does not specifically contain fine provisions.
Okay, I guess those are all my questions, and
Okay.
I think we'll probably continue this discussion in other venues where we can get a little more back and forth and perhaps try and delineate who is best able to do what. But I appreciate your work on this issue. It's really, really, really terrifying for a bunch of the neighbors in a way that I think you only understand when you see rats crawling out of your basement wall. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
So, Mr. Chair, it seems to me there's two issues here. One, I think, with respect to the responsiveness of the hauler. I don't know how the commission feels about this, but I'm wondering if we should put them on notice and tell them they've got 30 days to fix this situation. Otherwise, we will suspend their disposal license, which would impact the entire, all of them, because it's not just site by site, right? Elizabeth, it's their entire ability to operate here in the city.
Oh, absolutely.
Right? And the second issue coming up in your testimony, which I'm concerned about, is that you're attributing part of the problem, or the road problem, to the dumpster, but it seems to me there may be other issues that are contributing to the road problem with this particular licensee. And I suspect we're going to need to bring them in for a disciplinary hearing to determine whether or not we have the ability to take further action against them with respect to this issue in the neighborhood.
Can I respond to that? The licensee actually, after they were cited and everything took care of, they were very good with everything.
But you said there's still a road problem.
The
emanating
road
from-
problem
Yeah.
exists because this dumpster just got changed out 2 weeks ago.
Mhm.
So, you know, the correction of the dumpster didn't automatically make the rats go away that had been there.
Can we just stop 1 second?
Yes.
My computer just stopped and I grabbed it on something else. Hold on 1 second. Oops.
Will this be a few minutes?
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah,
Why
I
don't
just
we
wanna-
take a break for a couple of minutes?
okay, thanks. I'm just going to swap out my file, so it'll take about 2 minutes. Is
Okay.
that okay?
Yeah.
Thanks so much.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. think everything's fine. Thanks so much.
Thank you. I'd actually like to go back, I don't know if Councillor Kelly has left the room, but we were talking about Chapter 5.24 before about the licensing of the haulers. And there is a penalty section, the last section, which talks about, well, this is a penalty for persons who aren't licensed shall forfeit a sum not exceeding $50 for each offense. So that's the only fine provision, I believe, as to the disposal license. Is there another gentleman here to speak on the Casella issue?
I'm here on behalf of Casella.
Okay, please come forward.
Thank you.
Sir, would you spell your first and last name?
My name is Stephen Culliton, Stevencullliton. I'm Casella's operations manager based out of Peabody, Mass., 295 Forest Street. I apologize for my tardiness. It was quite a bit of traffic coming down.
Thank you for coming. So while you're here, maybe you could clarify for me too. Are you also known as Atlantic Waste?
It is a previous, we were once purchased by a larger company under Atlantic North, which is our previous name. We have since broken off and we are recognized as Casella Waste Company, or Casella Waste Systems, I should say.
Okay, so you're no longer affiliated with Atlantic.
That's correct.
So actually, I believe the disposal permit that the License Commission has issued is in the name of Atlantic Waste. So we should get that resolved.
That has come up in many municipalities, and many times the comment from the municipality is it takes more paperwork to change the paperwork. So if you're still at the same billing address, we'll just keep it the same. So.
Well, frankly, I think we prefer to have the name right,
Absolutely.
the legal name right. So did you have a statement? I don't know if you heard Mr. McIsaac's testimony.
Yes, I did. Nothing prepared. It was really just to discuss the purpose of being here. I did get here just in time to hear this gentleman's, many of his comments, and if I could just address those. There is a systemic problem in the waste industry. Any company, any of the hauling companies, and really what it comes down to is the main difference in Cambridge is certainly way ahead of most of the communities we deal with. The difference between what is trash, what is recyclable, and what is compost or food waste. We work closely with the city of Cambridge, and my biggest customer is MIT from a food waste standpoint in hauling that away. I heard the name of the company. I'm not very specifically familiar with this company. We have over 250 commercial containers in the city of Cambridge. 81 of those are at MIT, 11 of those are at Lesley University, about 158 commercial accounts after that. And typically we run into a scenario with the restaurants where they take their trash, their recyclable material, and their food waste, they load it into the same container. Very rarely do we see a recycled container, a true recycled container that has a rodent problem. The rodents just aren't after cardboard, plain old ordinary paper, cardboard, what have you. Sometimes in trash we do see that, but we typically see it more in that mixed, commingled material. So they're really going after the food waste. And again, not familiar with this particular account, but more than likely there's no compost removal system in place, so all that food waste is going into the trash, and all that trash is sitting out there. I heard a comment about the open lids. When our drivers service the containers, I'm again not familiar if this is a front load or rear load, but typically the lids are closed after the service. Who opens them? Our customers open them because it makes it easier to throw the stuff, the material into the containers. So again, while servicing the container, lids are closed, but after out of convenience, they don't want to touch the dirty covers, what have you, the covers stay open. Service frequency was mentioned. This particular customer is a once-a-week customer. I'm a businessman, and I'd like to service them 8 days a week if that was possible, because I'm charging them for each of their pickups. They're business people too, and they're going to try and control their costs, especially with a trash system. So they're going to go for as minimal a pickup as possible. Again, systemic problem. We see this across the board.
I'm sorry, so you don't control the frequency of pickups at dumpsters?
Customers control the frequency. Certainly our salespeople who are paid commission would push for a higher frequency rate, but ultimately it's up to the customer. So again, that's another area that we do not control, the customer is in charge of. And again, that does contribute to the rodent problem. If you're just going once a week, you have all that food and debris that build up in the containers, and the containers that we more frequently service, we see less rodent problem.
So can you explain why it took 5 weeks to replace this particular dumpster?
I don't know this particular case. We don't have a receptionist. We do have a customer service area. We are based out of Rutland, Vermont. The calls all funnel up through our customer service area in Rutland, and they are forwarded down to the operations group in Peabody. Again, not familiar with this particular case, why it would take 5 weeks. Our response time is typically anywhere from 1 day to 2 weeks, depending on the condition of the container and what it entails. And for an example, I went through before I came here, I currently have 4 pending swaps, container swaps, for the city of Cambridge. 2 of them are swapping out plastic containers, which we currently have on back order. One of them on Gore Street, we've made 5 attempts. Each attempt has been blocked. And one of them came in today at 2:04 p.m. that the side door was falling off the 10-yard upright container. Something like that is usually a day turnaround, possibly 2 if we don't have a repair truck in the Cambridge area. So again, 5 weeks, I'm not familiar with the case, but our typical response time is within 2 weeks.
When ISD called, they were told that you didn't have any available dumpsters to replace it with initially. So I'm just trying to figure out, a company your size wouldn't have other dumpsters available to do a quick swap out for a dumpster. So that's what I'm grappling with. And they seem to be somewhat evasive. They took another call several weeks later to figure out when that dumpster was going to be changed out. Eventually it was, but like I said, it was over a 5-week period of time. Meanwhile, this particular dumpster has a hole in it. It's leaking food stuff, and it's contributing to a rodent problem for this particular establishment. So I would imagine you wouldn't think that's an acceptable turnaround time.
Very unacceptable.
So the situation now with this particular dumpster, you're attributing it to the customers leaving the lids open as opposed to the lids being faulty.
Well, I heard lids being open, and especially if we're servicing once a week. My driver is on site once a week for a very short amount of time. 2 days later, I would imagine if the lids, for some reason, were open after the driver put the container down, that the business would shut the lids at that point.
Further questions?
So, you said you're not familiar with the account. Is there
This
somebody in your office, shop, whatever, that is familiar with the account?
The salesperson would be the one most familiar with the account.
So, I would think maybe a positive step would be for the person from Casella that is familiar with the account to meet with the gentleman from ISD on site to address the issues. You had mentioned a hole in the dumpster, but that dumpster has been changed out?
Yes, it has.
Okay.
Typically, we get more service requests or swap out requests from the drivers than we do from the businesses. In many cases, the businesses don't recognize there's an issue with the bottom, with the floor where all the material sits. They may not recognize there's a leak or an issue with the dumpster. It's the driver who literally picks it up off the ground to service it, who notices the leaks. The base of the floor may have a crack in it or something along those lines. So over 60 to 70% of the swap out of containers do come from the drivers.
So again, I would think maybe one step in the right direction is somebody from Casella meets with somebody from ISD on site as a starting point to get this matter resolved.
And you heard there's another pending issue that the ISD is dealing with, I guess with your company as well, that hasn't,
It's the citations in the mail, so the
and it's going to the PP
license,
address?
it's going to the licensee.
Okay.
It is a Casella dumpster with broken lids.
Mhm.
It's not a matter, when lids are left open by a dumpster, that's usually the licensee's fault, and that's when they get a ticket. But when there is, sometimes it's just as simple as a drain plug missing, things like that, we contact the licensee to contact our hauler, because a lot of haulers won't even talk to anyone else unless they have their contract with them. So we tell the licensee to contact their hauler to get the violation corrected.
And you understand if this body were to take action relative to suspending or revoking your license, that would affect all your customer base in the city,
Absolutely.
right?
Absolutely, sir.
No other questions?
Thank you. So it's up to the commission. I don't know if anyone has a motion. I'm inclined to want to issue a warning letter at this point, but if other people disagree, then we can talk about
Do we have a
it.
history with this company on file?
You don't.
We don't.
We also haven't been licensing the haulers for that many years.
So can you, as a representative of Casella, guarantee us this evening that you or a member of your staff will meet with ISD to address the issue not only at Hannah Sushi, but at he has stated he has other Casella locations in the city that are problematic?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Okay, well, I'll make a motion that the License Commission issue a warning letter to Casella Waste that related to the incident at issue about the 5-week turnaround problem and other issues related to Casella dumpsters in the city, and that any further violations by Casella could result in a disposal license suspension or revocation by the License Commission.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.